I probably became infatuated with music because my father was a composer, and he was working most of the time at the house, and we had a piano there, and so a lot of times when he wasn't working, I would go in there and I would just plunk around on the piano and try to figure out things like, oh, this is how the piano sounds like an airplane if I do this, and various things. So that was my first beginning with music, and then I started taking piano lessons, of course, and I started when I was about 5, and gradually the music I was listening to, I don't know, I sort of gravitated toward some of the pop things on the radio were in actuality jazz, and they played that kind of music on the radio back then. They don't anymore, but so I mean, you'd be listening to the radio, and all of a sudden you'd hear Stan Kenton or Woody Herman and Slim Gaillard, wrote songs like "Open the Door, Richard," and so I kind of, I don't know why, but that kind of music was what I felt that, that's what I liked. And also my dad had recordings in the basement, like of Stravinsky's Rites of Spring and Ravel's Concerto for Left Hand and stuff like that. So that was all like a big influence on me. And I think that's what I wanted to do. And I started playing music, and also George Shearing was on the radio, and I started trying to play like him, and because he was a piano player and English too. But I just then found myself in the army, and I went over to Trieste, Italy. And I was in the engineers because that was my aptitude, I guess. And I used to go to the PX, a little kind of store for people in the army, and they had a piano in the back room. It was also a place to relax and play cards and whatever. So they had a piano back there, and I used to go in there and play the piano for like a couple hours. And one day this guy walked over to me and he said, "Hey," he says, "you sound pretty good." He says, "Why don't you should come down and audition for the band. We have a band here." So I said, "Okay." So, by the way, that guy was Herbie Mann. So I went to the band and I auditioned, and afterwards the guy, Warrant Officer Schaefer, that was his name. He said, "Well, Don, I could tell you couldn't read music, but you did such a good job faking it that we're going to let you, in the band. We're going to get you in." So I transferred into the 98th Army Band in Trieste, Italy, and that was the beginning of my kind of education of music. Even though I had studied piano for a while, I didn't, like when it came to jazz, I didn't know what a bridge was in the music. So I knew how to imitate jazz, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I quickly learned, because guys would get real mad at me, and I'd learned how to play all these different songs and everything, and before you know it, I was going out on gigs, with a little combo or something that we had. So we had a concert band, we had a big band, and we had several small combos, or like small groups. And so between all that, I learned tremendously. I started writing for the concert band and writing for the big band, and I used to get, in fact, one time I got the History of a Soldier by Stravinsky, and I had somebody write out parts for it because, of course, we didn't have anything like that, and so then we rehearsed that, you know, with the guys. With the guys in the group, I mean, in this band, were really quite good. So anyhow, that went along, and I got out of the Army, and then I started playing with various people, you know, and so as we fast forward, you know, about 7 or 8 years, I went to this place. I had a job playing in this giant giant warehouse, and there were like about 4 or 5 different stages, and I remember finding myself in the center of the room, which was also a stage, and I met this guitar player there. His name was Frank Zappa. And we started talking, and he heard me play, I guess. I don't remember hearing him play at the time. But, well, a few weeks later, I got a call from him. And he asked me if I wanted to do an audition at a place called the Bank Club in Santa Ana. No, not Santa Ana. Well, somewhere in Orange County. And I said, sure, you know, and I went over to his house, and he showed me some charts, one of which was Oh No, which is in 7/4. I said, do you think people are going to dance to this? You know, just, well, don't worry about it. So we went to the Bank Club and auditioned with a drummer. The drummer myself, I played organ with that group and guitar. And of course we played Oh No, and of course no one could dance to it because it was like completely bizarre for at that time. So we didn't get the job, but while I was at Zappa's house, I noticed that his record collection was very similar to my record collection, with all the Stravinsky and Bartók and Varese and Schoenberg and Albanberg and all those composers. So he had almost the same stuff that I had. So I told him I had a group that, you know, like was a experimental music group, and if he'd be interested to come down and play with us, which he did, and we improvised to films of microscopic life, and also Zappa brought a couple films down, and we played to those films. They were kind of weird, but, you know, not totally weird, but weird enough that you could improvise to them. So one could say that he was in my group for a brief period of time.